Look, I don't care what kind of restaurant it is. If I see a crudo on the menu, I'm getting it. Doesn't matter where I am. Doesn't matter the time of day. Doesn't matter the time of year. Doesn't matter the weather outside. Hot, cold, rainy, chilly, snowing, crudo. All day, raw fish, raw meat. I love it. I don't know what it is about us humans. I don't know, maybe it's something primal in us of just sitting down and eating raw flesh, Khaleesi style. There's just something about it. I can't pinpoint it, but I'll tell you what, everyone loves it. You don't know how to do it, so I'm gonna teach you right now. So like, how does one go about shopping for themselves at home if they want to enjoy sushi, ceviches, beef tartare, stuff like that with their partner or friends and family in their own home? So how can you make the most delicious bites at home? But most importantly, how do you communicate? And how do you talk to your fishmonger or grocery store or your butcher? Furthermore, I want to set you up with the right knowledge that you can pinpoint things as soon as you walk into the store yourself. What is sushi grade fish? Sushi grade and sashimi grade are really just marketing terms, right? They're not actually any sort of regulated standards. They will suggest that certain fish is safe to eat raw, but the designation depends on the supplier's handling practices. It usually means that the fish has been pre-frozen to a certain temperature, killing any sort of bacteria and, most importantly, parasites that may have been living in the flesh itself. These things normally die once you begin cooking and it reaches a certain temperature, but if you're consuming it raw, you're never gonna reach that temperature. So other actions need to take place. But certain fish need certain freezing temperatures, and are you really ensuring that the fish was frozen at that time at its freshest peak? No, you really don't. So it's kind of like a loose term of like, yeah, this is safe to eat, we froze it. So what can you do about it? Well, always buy from a reputable market or butcher shop, from people who understand the safety protocols themselves. So the FDA requires that most wild fish that is caught and to be consumed raw needs to be frozen to a certain temperature. We know that. These freezing conditions are hard to replicate at home, so yes, you want to buy fish that may have been already frozen, sure. Can you get away with just eating super fresh raw fish? Yes. Farm salmon and certain tuna species, believe it or not, are usually at a lower risk and may not even need to be frozen due to their controlled environments. Now you may have heard about curing fish. Does curing actually kill parasites? Well, not really. Curing does a few things. It does a really good job at killing any bacteria on the outside. Great. It also does a great job of pulling any impurities from the flesh itself. It also kind of brines the fish in a way where it's going to help season the fish from the inside out and also firm up the flesh to give you a more palatable texture, especially if you're going to be eating it raw. Rule of thumb, as soon as you're getting the fish yourself, you want to try and keep the fish as cold as possible. You don't need to freeze it, but maybe keep it over ice or directly into the back of your fridge where it may be the coldest. So when you're walking into a market, how do you spot a good fish market from a bad fish market? A good fish market should not smell like fish when you walk in. Believe it or not, that's a huge red flag. A fish market should smell mildly salty, but a little bit like the ocean, and that's it. When you are looking at the fish counter, if they have any whole fish, examine them a little bit. Are their eyes bulging, or are they kind of like sunken into their heads? Are they cloudy, or are they nice and bright and glossy? You want bright, glossy eyes, nothing sunken in. The outside of the fish should be nice and shiny and vibrant. All of the fish should be displayed on fresh ice, right? Nothing like just hanging out in bins. It can be in bins, but the bins need to be sitting in ice. They can't just be on a cooler. You know what I mean? So what do we know? Well, you want to buy smart, local if possible, right? You want to buy from a reputable source, someone who actually knows what they're talking about, not just the guy behind the counter who needed a $15 an hour job at your local grocery store. Not him. He doesn't care about you. Maybe he does, but he probably doesn't. Keep it cold, on ice or in the coldest part of your fridge, and always consume the fish as fresh as possible. Don't buy the fish today and in 3 days think you're gonna start making some crudos and stuff. No, most fish markets get their fish within 24, 48 hours. You wanna eat it that day. that's when it's gonna be best. You have two types of cures. You have a dry cure and you have a wet cure or a brine. It's a mix weighed out by the weight of the fish or by the amount of water that you are going into per the weight of the fish. But it's essentially salt, sugar, mixed together, coat the entire fish, let it sit for about 5-10 minutes, depending on the type of fish. And then you just wanna rinse all of this off in cold water, pat it dry with paper towels, and you're good to go. For a brine, same exact thing, salt and sugar goes into the water, stir until it's completely dissolved, and then you want to submerge your fish into that brine for about 5 to 10 minutes. I personally prefer this method over a dry cure, mainly because if I am cutting pieces for sashimi or something like that, I can slice them and dip them into the water as they are sliced to increase the amount of surface area that is getting to the fish itself, speeding up this process, maybe only keeping them in there for about 2 minutes or so. This is important because it's going to firm up the texture. The salt draws out moisture from the surface of the fish and slightly denatures proteins, which is going to give you a firmer flesh of your fish. Believe it or not, it enhances flavor, right? We're seasoning with a little bit of salt. Now, look, fish is great, but what about raw beef? What if I want tartare and carpaccio at my house in a nice summer night sitting on my patio with a nice crisp chablis or a sancerre or, I don't know, a beer? You want to make sure that the beef is very, very fresh. Again, when I say fresh, I mean talk to your butchers, talk to your fishmongers. Tell them what you're gonna do. Don't keep it a secret. If you're at the fish market, walk in and let them know, hi, I'm looking to make some sushi tonight, or I wanna have some crudos. Do you have any fish you can recommend that's very fresh and I can eat raw? If you see a nice snapper or bass whole in there, you may not know how to butcher it yourself, or once butchered, what do you do with the rest of it? Ask them to do it for you, right there. They will. It's a sale. They're not gonna say no. They'll be able to sell the other filet another way. It's not a problem. Have them butcher it for you. But for your beef, make sure it's very fresh. Talk to your butcher. Say, hey, I'm looking to make some tartare today. Do you have any sirloin or filet or chuck that you can recommend eating raw? Why I do? They'll most likely tell you yes, and if they don't, they'll be honest with you. They're worried about establishing trust and a relationship with you so that when you go home and eat this, you're gonna come back because they steered you in the right direction. They're not worried about, go ahead, take this home, eat it. They're gonna be honest with you. If it's not safe to eat, they're gonna let you know. So again, let them know what you're doing. No one's gonna look at you like you're weird. You're not the first person to eat raw beef. Never buy ground beef from the butcher. Go home and ground it yourself or chop it up really fine yourself. It's going to stay fresher that way, and it will yield the least amount of bacteria from the store to your kitchen. I don't know. But if you have a great butcher shop like I do here in Cold Spring, New York, I could easily go into my butcher and say, hey, can you grind me some fresh meat today? Text them, call them the day before. They'll grind it for you that morning. You go and pick it up. It's fresh. It's only been sitting ground for maybe an hour or two. That's good to eat. That's delicious. Again, establishing a relationship with your butchers. If you are on your own and you can't really talk to your butcher and you're just looking at the case and you want to start pointing stuff out, you want to look for bright, vibrant red flesh, nothing really gray or murky looking. There should be no off smell. It shouldn't smell like iron. It should literally smell like nothing. Give this a nice stir until all of the salt is dissolved. So you have all of this white, right? These lines, that's fat. But if you look even closer, you can see lines running this way as well. That's more fat. That's native to the Faroe Island salmon itself. It's a very fatty fish. It's delicious, and that's perfect for eating raw. So I have a few parts here. You have like this loin here and then a loin here. Smaller pieces just like so. Now you have this fattier side, right? Coming down with the belly of the fillet to more of the center, a little bit more fleshy. This isn't as firm as this and this side. I kind of submerge these pieces right in, like that. And you'll notice almost instantly little beads of oil and some of the impurities washing off the outer flesh. That's what we're looking for. Just give them a nice rinse in some cold water to wash off that brine on the outside. That's all. So when you're slicing salmon, so the only thing to keep in mind when you're slicing fish, you don't want to saw the whole time. You want nice, long, even motions, right? So we're going to start at the heel of our knife, right here, and then moving the whole knife out while also putting pressure down to get one clean, long slice, right? Just show you an example. I want to go a little bit more on the thinner side here. Look at that. So I have this lovely blood orange. It's got some citrus to it, but I want a little bit more of a punch. So we're gonna add a little bit of lemon juice to this as well. Now we have this sweet, tart, flavorful citrus juice. We're gonna let our fish marinate straight in that juice. Then I just have some diced cucumber, right? For some freshness, some fresh bites in there. Maybe some alliums. I got some shallots. You can use chives or green onions, something like that. A red onion will also do. A little bit of shaved fennel. And then lastly, some really nice high quality finishing oil right on top of that. That fattiness playing off of the fattiness of the fish, almost making a dressing with all of those juices. I love it. So here I have a nice piece of tuna. You can go out, you can get a nice fresh piece of bluefin tuna. It will be much darker. This piece of tuna has already been frozen, so I know any parasites and stuff have already been dead, and then it's been packaged and vacuum sealed, ready for consumption. If you see this in your fish market's counter, get it. It's a great, safe alternative. Normally I just buy a tuna fillet, and I do the same thing that I am doing with the salmon, but I wanted to show you the difference in quality from what we're doing. Another easy raw fish application you could do at home is a poke bowl. Starting here with a little bit of soy sauce, some sesame sauce, and I have this Bachan's barbecue sauce. It's got some sweetness to it. If you don't have this, you could just opt for some hoisin sauce or something, or even add a little bit of sugar or honey or maple. You just want a little bit of sweetness to counter the salinity in the soy sauce. And then I'm just going in with some sesame seeds and a little bit of green onion as well. Set that off to the side. Meanwhile, I got some nice, fresh, crunchy greens going into this bowl. Our poke covering one side. Some edamame, cucumbers, radishes, whatever you're feeling, whatever you have available that day, like some mango or pineapple, maybe a little cilantro if you're going that route. Make it work for you. It's super customizable. I love poke bowls for that reason. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's do like a Michelin style dish. We're gonna start off by making an aguachile water. Chop up some jalapeno, put it in a bowl. I like to add a little bit of lime juice just for some acidity. And then I'm coming in with some juiced rhubarb. I have this left over from a few days ago, still quite fresh. Pour that over. I also added a little red onion and let this kind of sit and marinate for like 15 minutes, right? Then I have these scallops, beautiful fresh scallops. They don't smell like anything. That's a good sign. We're just gonna take that little foot off the side. Believe it or not, a scallop is the Shell logo from the Shell gas station. We're gonna slice this very thin. I have these beautiful scallops, two different colors here, believe it or not. The yellow or more orange ones, they say, are a little bit sweeter. So if you ever see them in the case, go for those. This is a scallop shell. There's a flat side, and then there's the round side, and the scallop is essentially just the abductor that holds the top and the bottom shell together. There's a bunch of other stuff also in here, but we scrap that out and you're left with just the scallop. It's a muscle, again, it's like the abductor. That's actually what we're eating. If you've ever had clams and you have those two things that are holding the shells down on the side, we have one big one in a scallop, and that's what you eat. We're gonna layer them up in our scallop shell, make it look extra fancy. Our rhubarb aguachile water. Coming in with a little bit of sliced jalapeno, some cilantro, and then of course a little bit of ramp oil. I have this left over. I made it in the beginning of the month during ramp season. I feel like it would just go perfect here. And there you have it. Delicious, simple scallop aguachile. I have this sea bass fillet that I had my fishmonger freshly cut up for me. We're going to enter the knife almost halfway through the tail, turning the blade, and then dragging it across the fillet to take off the skin on the back. It's okay if you leave a little bit of flesh. In fact, if there's some pin bones left in, by leaving the skin on and doing it this method, you'll pull some of those pin bones out. It's a sacrifice we all have to make sometimes. The thinner you slice your fish, the quicker it's going to cure in the juice. The acid from the citrus is actually going to help kill bacteria and par-cook our fish. We're only doing a small portion. If I was making a bunch of this, or even for a restaurant, I would just peel a bunch of lemons and limes, throw them into a food processor, and then boom, you have like in bulk this citrus juice. That's where you should start. We're just gonna do it by hand since I have a little bit here. Get yourself a nice bowl. You can see the fish is starting to change color, becoming a little more opaque. It is cooking through. This has been about 20 minutes. If I let this go for another 20 minutes, it will get even firmer. I like it in this sweet spot. You can let this go up to an hour or so. Go down with your fish, pour the juice over on top of it. Then you just want to keep it fresh, right? I got some cucumbers, some avocado, red onion, jalapenos, some cilantro, nice good olive oil right on top, and some chunky flaky salt. And my man, that is beautiful sea bass ceviche. Doesn't get better than that. I feel like I'm in Tulum right now. I'll show you the bite right here. Little fish, like that. Little cucumber and avocado right on there like that. I have some sirloin pieces here. I popped this in the freezer for about 30-40 minutes just to firm up. It's gonna make cutting it a lot easier. Now, we wouldn't be making a raw episode if we didn't start with some raw egg yolk. Some Dijon mustard, some lemon juice. Dip that all together. Add your beef. I also have some shallots, some green onion, and some cornichons. You can use capers if you like. These cornichons are essentially just baby pickles. You can use capers if you like, but again, playing on that theme with all of this raw food today, you want to make sure everything is balanced. So you need some fat, you need some acidity. We're getting that from the lemon juice and from our cornichons. Personally, I think potato chips is the perfect companion to beef tartare. Wow. I hope I made things a little bit more approachable for you, maybe took away the scaries, and you can feel a little more comfortable walking into a grocery store, having that conversation with your butcher or your fishmonger. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. And again, as always, follow for more. Same time next week.